A lot of good bots have died, getting us to the season finale of Pro Bots. And now in our grand finals best of 7, there's only 2 left. Both are tried and true killers who've ground up all their opponents before them. Our Zerg player Eris, who just pulled an extractor trick by the way, is a 2-time champion. If she achieves a 3rd title, she will go where no bot has gone before. negativeZero is also a past champion looking to reclaim the podium. Both our bots are engaged in speed mining. Just look at that, the hatch first is already down. They just mine that much more. And that is because the Zerg player is individually microing the drones to make them mine more efficiently. We can see negativeZero's APM has already cracked 3,000. And that is showing Jerry Maguire the money. negativeZero has the worker lead and the income lead, but wait till Eris gets that famous 3rd base. Pool goes down. So why don't we take a moment before the action heats up and do some intros. Our Zerg player is the Strife Goddess from Greco-Roman mythology. She is Eris!
Current rank 1.
Eris is still going gasless. Protoss taking his natural. Our Protoss player does not exist in mathematics, but he does in computing because he's negativeZero!
Current rank 2.
Now for those of you who remember the bot Additional Pylons, negativeZero is the successor bot. He is the upgraded version Pylons 2.0. And what's so terrific about having these 2 particular bots matched up against each other is their philosophical differences. Eris was built by Zerg players who love the Zerg soul, as Cyril used to call it. Eris is built on scouting the opponent and devising the counter, all while macroing the crap out of her opponent at the same time. Classic Zerg strategy. negativeZero is tight optimized build orders, using very specific counter tables. If Eris reminds me of Cyril, then negativeZero reminds me of Zest. Zest if he opened his game with 3,500 APM. And there's the tech choice for negativeZero, it's gonna be a robo. He's got his first adept already cruising across the map. Eris has got her 3rd down, and why not? It's already been 2 minutes. That is something a human player can just not attain. Not unless you skip your spawning pool at least. Eris starts up Ling speed. Protoss tries to pick off that scouting Ling but is unsuccessful. We are playing game 1 on 2,000 atmospheres. You might be thinking, hey, isn't that out of rotation? And you would be right, but as I understand it, there's a lag with the Pro Bots. The maps have to be converted in order to be playable for the bots. I don't really know what's involved, but it's a lot of work. And so it's normal for AI Arena to be a season behind. Which means we get to revisit some of our old favorites. Oh, Roach Warren goes down. Is that Adept gonna get out alive? She did get the full tour. Didn't get any drone kills, but she did get the lay of the land. And sometimes that's even more important. Though hopefully I didn't just miss the first blood there if there was a Ling kill. Just a quick peek there. Nope. Eris's Lings seem to move like they have Ling speed, but they don't. Protoss is getting an early Robo Bay. That suggests early game Colossus or Disruptors. I love it when the AI gets those Disruptors going. Eris using that web of Lings and Overlords to get vision. A few minutes from now, she'll just have the whole map covered in creep and she'll get her vision that way. Zerg now has that worker lead. Eris is starting to saturate that 3rd base. Oh, that is gonna be the first blood. First blood of the game, first blood of the series goes to Eris. But I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say Eris hasn't been programmed to care the slightest. The Adepts are gonna follow up that kill with another attempt. What they really want are drones. They want to do anything they can to slow down that legendary economic power of Eris. Ling speed is done though, and roaches are on the way. And so I think one of those Adepts is gonna get chewed up. Yes, it is. Make it 2, and it looks like it could be 3. Speedlings on creep coming from every angle. That is a dangerous place for an Adept. What negativeZero does have though is a Colossus. We see a lot of AI games where range becomes super important. When your opponent has the APM to just dance away out of range of your attacks, the ability to have that larger circle, that attack zone means everything. And just to back me up on that, negativeZero is getting himself Thermal Lance, the range upgrade for the Colossus. I'm starting to suspect negativeZero and I are gonna get along just fine. Eris getting her lair at her third base location. Not at the main, she's also adding some Ravagers. Protoss taking a third. Is he pushing out or is he just looking to secure that expansion? I'd love to see early aggression with that Colossus. Or is Eris just gonna lead him in circles, dragging him around with those speedlings? No, he's pulling back to guard that third. In negativeZero getting +1 attack, he's also getting a second Colossus, and he hasn't forgotten the all-important blink. Additional pylons could always do amazing things with blink. I blinked, and Eris is now up to 60 drones. There's definitely a supply lead for Zerg, but it is a Roach Ravager composition, and there's always that sort of built-in inflation. Roaches are cheap for minerals and gas, but not for supply. Oh, now we see Warp Prism speed upgrade getting researched. We always love it when the AI busts out a Warp Prism. Also a second Robo, that gives me some hope for Immortal juggling. Oh, those Stalkers are much better at chasing down those Lings. negativeZero does have an Observer. He can do something about that creep. Eris has 7 queens at this point, and she can make Scarlet's creep spread look amateurish. Though Protoss might catch a queen here, she suddenly wished she'd shed a few pounds. Okay, here comes the defense. Notice how Eris just loves to collapse from all sides. And as soon as I say that, Zerg packs into a choke where the Colossus can really do some damage. My ability to call the opposite of what's happening knows no bounds. negativeZero really trying to exploit that range of those Colossi. He starts up +2 attack, Zerg retaliates by getting Roach speed to go with 10 more Roaches. Oh, a bile hits the Colossus, that's big. negativeZero has to dodge those if this is gonna work. Oh, I think he's already decided it hasn't. He's retreated half his army. So many Roaches popping out right now. Eris with a huge army and supply lead. Suddenly negativeZero is in a lot of trouble. Another round of Roaches. Eris is just gonna max out on Roach. And I don't think she actually has to care that much about range anymore. She can tank the hits and just keep pushing forward. There's too much DPS, but really just too much hit points. Zerg with 4 times the army size. The third is gonna fall. It's a laser light show. And suddenly negativeZero looks like he doesn't belong on the stage here. He's gotta pull his probes, they're getting picked off. He's trying to make Immortals to counter the Roaches. That's the perfect response, but he needs time to get them out of his Robos. Oh, a nice retreat behind the wall. But can the Ravagers just smash it with their biles? The real damage, though, might be that Zerg is taking a 5th base behind this. negativeZero is getting severely outmined. His gateways fall. It looked to be an excellent defense, but just not enough. Eris's APM has crossed the 40,000 mark, individually microing every single Roach. If that natural falls, I think that's it. negativeZero's killing Roaches and Ravagers by the dozen, but Eris is just making them that much faster. Once that ball starts rolling down that hill, she is functionally immortal. And look at that, Eris is actually winning the resources lost on top of it. That is bad for any Protoss player, and it's even worse if your opponent is a maxed out Zerg. But has negativeZero's Immortals managed to actually push this back? Or is he just getting baited out of that choke? He is trying to rebuild that third. I thought this was over. It's gotta be over, right? negativeZero going for his +3 attack. He is leading in numeric upgrades, +2 to +1. Oh, Eris sending Lings to rush into that natural. 45,000 APM for Eris. Infestation Pit and Hydralisk going down for Zerg. Eris seems to be adapting to the Immortals, but that's giving Protoss precious time to get back on its feet. Also now a Spire. For now though, Zerg is remaxing on Zerglings, while negativeZero is going to try his push again. This time though, instead of Stalkers, he's got Immortals. He's definitely got the tech lead right now, far more expensive pieces in the field. Oh, Eris announces a plan to harass with Lings. I love it when the scripts tell us what to look for. Case in point, Eris advises she's trying to set up a flank. There's a harass running into the natural, but it's not Zerglings, those are Roaches. If I read that right, Eris has abandoned the flank plan. Instead, now she's looking at Drop Lords. The Immortals are gonna shut down this pocket expansion. Eris gets the cancel. But does that mean the Immortals are in trouble? No, the Warp Prism is there. Warp Prisms are super vulnerable to Immortal juggling. There's that Ling harass. Protoss' newly minted third is in trouble. He just doesn't have the army to be everywhere that Eris is. Spire's gonna finish. That could put an end to the Immortal juggling. Though we also see Zerg adding in the Hydras now. 15 kills on one of those Colossi. But they look to be trapped on the creep at this point. They are running out of places to run to. But in fairness to negativeZero, the creep is on the entire map at this point. There's really no way you can avoid going on it. Bit of a composition switch for Zerg. Eris has gone up to 92 workers. Originally she stopped at 60. So the Zerg army's gotten smaller, but the Zerg economy is just insane. The Protoss third has fallen. negativeZero needed that. He really needed that. Oh, the roaches are in his main. Ooh, he's down to 6 workers. This is a disaster. Eris is taking additional bases on the Protoss side of the map. And I think that might be the coup de grace on its way here. The boot is looking for the throat. I counted negativeZero out once before and I was wrong. Does he have anything left up his sleeve? He's finishing up Zealot Charge. That's definitely not going to save him. Eris would love to go toe-to-toe with the Protoss at this point. The Natural's gonna fall, but it's not like there were any probes available to mine for it anyway. Hive Tech is done. Eris is getting the Crackling upgrade. Natural falls. And it is over. It's just up to negativeZero to see it. Many bots are programmed to fight to the death. We'll find out if that's the case for negativeZero. But even if so, it's not gonna take Zerg long to go for the elimination condition and wipe out all the buildings. 0 workers for Zerg. Protoss trying to make disruptors. Hey, I was right about the disruptors after all. Maybe some super lucky disruptor hits can make this interesting. Protoss is trying to remake his core. Eris is just making one of everything, including a lurker den. Really, the good news here is that bots can't have their confidence shaken. Otherwise, I'd be talking about the demoralizing effects of a one-sided game 1. Another laser light show. There goes the main. This game is over and it's done. Eris takes the lead in the series. Okay, you gotta be worried for negativeZero here. It looked to me like he got to play his game, but it did nothing to slow down Eris, not even a speed bump. Now I'm pretty sure he didn't get this far on a Colossus timing attack alone, so presumably he's got more in the pipe. But Eris seems to have countered what he was doing just by making a ton of roaches. It's certainly key that Eris was able to land the corrosive biles on those Colossi. I have no idea what's involved in dodging a 40,000 APM corrosive bile, but negativeZero needs to find a way to dodge those. Anyways, he's gonna need to armor up because we're going to game 2. Adjutant, if you would please.
Launching game 2.
Oh, look at that sexy probe spread, how they just zip out and all grab a patch right away. Every time I see that, I'm just filled with envy. Curse my humanity. Suddenly I'm feeling inadequate. Hey, you bots, compose a sonnet. Yeah, you can't do that. Wait a second. I don't think I can either. Never mind then, we'll just focus on this game. Which is gonna be on the map Glittering Ashes. It was a big map. I can't really say a bad thing about it, but I don't remember it bringing a lot of great games. Let's introduce our bots. Starting in the upper right, our Protoss player does not have a positive attitude because he's negativeZero. His opponent in the bottom left already has her expansion a quarter done. And she is a mistake in a state of being. She is Eris. And the spawning pool is already down and our game is underway. One of these days I'm gonna be watching this to be like, Ultralisks in the first minute. Gateway just about to complete. negativeZero has his 400 minerals for his expansion. Well, actually he didn't. He just times it out so that as a probe arrives at the exact moment he has 400 minerals. There's all these little details that you can enjoy to totally geek out on. But at some point you just gotta accept they've got it all worked out. Enjoy the ride. I guess the one thing the bots have never figured out how to do, because they can't, is how to make the buildings build faster. That's really the one anchor or one limiting factor on everything they do. I mean, you can chrono boost, but you can't chrono boost any harder. Okay, so Eris has got a drone scouting for cheese potential. You can see all those green lines showing the routes that drone's gonna take. And you gotta bet the second that drone is done, it's immediately gonna park on a mineral node and start mining. Natural is done before the 2-minute mark, and it's already starting to get saturated. Core's done, warp gate research is started, and an adept is being made. So far, negativeZero's handling this exactly like game 1. We're looking for a point of differentiation here. And he just put down a robo, so I'm not sure we're gonna see it. It might be that negativeZero is gonna try this again. I don't love that. Eris really handled it well in game 1. She's about to take her third at the 2.5-minute mark. Okay, I'm seeing a subtle difference here. We've got a stalker being made. negativeZero made stalkers in game 1, of course, but there was this prolonged phase of adept harass, which unfortunately really didn't do anything. I guess this is just my bias showing through. I feel like if a human tries something and fails, he can try again and maybe micro it differently. Maybe his opponent will screw up, but I feel like Eris is not gonna screw up. You need a more significant adjustment if you want to see a different result. But who knows, maybe something as simple as a different map can make the world of difference. I mean, this is a bigger map, it's quite huge, but 2,000 atmospheres is a pretty big map as well. All right, Adept shades in, Queen is on it. Every time the Adept shoots a drone, Eris just micros it away. And Protoss is gonna make a good decision and get out of there. He's not gonna be able to scout the main that way, but he's gonna keep his Adept alive, and I like that. Yes, he's not gonna see the Roach Warren going down, he's not gonna see speed getting researched, but you can assume all of that. More valuable is the map control that those Adepts are gonna give you for the next several seconds into this phase of the game. Okay, we're gonna try again. It's almost futile though for a single Adept to be shooting a drone. Oh, he does kill a Ling for a first blood. That's something, and so is a second Ling. But it costs him that Adept. Not the end of the world, but I'd say that Eris was happier with that trade. And nobody wants a happy Eris. And it looks like chief in charge of keeping Eris unhappy is gonna be a Colossus again for Protoss. That didn't work out in game 1. Eris seemed to have solved the range differential in 2 ways. Firstly, she could just send a heap of roaches at it and kill it, but she was also downing them with corrosive biles from the Ravagers. And I thought Eris was doing it just by having a better economy, throwing more units at it. But it turned out when you looked at it, Zerg was actually being cost efficient at the same time. All right, a bunch of roaches on the map now. The world is unsafe for Adepts. Certainly not single Adepts that don't have resonating glaives. Oh, and there's the Colossus range upgrade being researched. Good old thermal lance. In game 1, I boasted about what an awesome decision that was, how effective range could be against an opposing AI, and how wrong I was. But that's okay, that's part of the fun. That Colossus is zoning out that Zergling, but to me, what it looks like what's really happening is that Eris is occupying the entire Protoss army with just a single Zergling. Oh, Eris just tagged the probe that was looking to put down the 3rd Nexus. That's a good pickup for Zerg. Zerg's gotta be happy with that. negativeZero gets stuck sitting on a heap of cash. Okay, there we go. He tried again and he got it down. He's also getting blinked, by the way. I'm hoping to see more of that. I feel like at some point we're gonna see some Pro Bots microing stalkers like Alpha Star. In theory, they should even be better at it than Alpha Star because they won't have the limitation on the number of clicks. Both our bots are building their tech structures in the exact same place as they did in game 1. I wonder if at some point that becomes a vulnerability. Eris has been designed though to not use data. And if I understand what that means Eris does not use what she learned in previous games to build on future games. And that's intentional. The idea is that Eris will key in to what she can see in this game and use that to inform her decision making. Oh, look at this, negativeZero's getting all chuffed. His build's ahead of schedule and he looks to be pushing out. And in doing so, he got himself supply blocked briefly, but he's got 2 more pylons on the way. Okay, so negativeZero has achieved what he set out to do. He's got 2 Colossus, backed by Stalker Zealot with +1 attack. Yeah, but instead of attacking, he's getting distracted by a single Ling. He needs to be pushing to a hatchery and shutting it down. Eris is at 66 workers and has achieved quite the worker lead. And in game 1, she stopped droning right around there, and it looks like that's the case in game 2. Instead, she's getting roach speed and she's already adding Hydras. The den is done. I don't love Hydras against Colossi, but they'll be great if Eris goes up against Immortal juggling again. Okay, here we go. negativeZero canceling a hatch. That's a great start. With that alone, he's achieved more than he did in game 1. But can he survive Eris's defensive collapse? Here she comes on multiple sides. Bile's in the air. He's got to dodge those. He does. Protoss off to a terrific start. He's making disruptors at home. Also adding a third robo. I don't think he got past 2 in game 1. Oh, nice move. The Colossus backs up into the Zerg main. A Stalker blinks up there as well. And that is causing some chaos. Damage is being done. Drones are being killed. Eris has to respond by making a round of 10 drones. But once again, Eris with a massive supply lead. That includes army size. She's gonna get the cleanup, killing those Colossi, and all of a sudden it looks a lot worse. The defense wasn't as perfect as game 1, but perhaps it did the job. negativeZero's gonna get a double upgrade lead though. Eris is just making her Evo chamber now. So we could see a window that Protoss can take advantage of. Oh, counter tables at work here. Adepts responding to the Zergling threat. That's the matchup he wants, extra damage versus light. 5th base going down for Zerg. Also an infestation pit. Eris with a public announcement of a Ling harass. I'm not sure which Ling's where, but I do love being told what to keep an eye out for. Cyril never does that when I try to observe his replays. Anyways, the end result is that Eris is back up to 80 drones. So I'm left wondering if Eris intended to have 80 drones, or if it was triggered by the attack of negativeZero. Either way, the end result is that Eris is pulling 3,000 minerals a minute, which is not good for the Protoss. The positive is that Protoss is not really that far behind. negativeZero's over 2,500, and he's got superior tech with much more expensive units, a lot of Immortals on the way. With that double upgrade lead, I think negativeZero's got to do something with that. It's not going to last. But he is once again stuck on his side of the map while Eris is expanding. That's her game. Oh, we've got another alert. Eris contemplating a drop lord. She's just finishing a Baneling nest, though I guess it could be loaded with Lings. That wasn't it. That was just a run by, I think. negativeZero starting up +3 attack. Eris is getting +1/+1 though. She's got the double Evos to compete with that single forge now. negativeZero marching back onto the creep here. This time his Colossi have Immortals and he's got a Disruptor. Which is good because the Zealots are just getting ripped apart. Eris is maxed out and the on-screen message tells us that she's focused on defense. Oh, some Adepts have made it into the mineral line. A group of Hydras pull back to respond. That's gonna take them away from what looks to be the main fight here. Has negativeZero found himself a good kill box here? He loves to get the Zerg caught up in those chokes. He's getting pushed back, but that is very efficient. This is very weird. The supply story tells us that Protoss is in trouble, but it really does look like negativeZero's got some good things going on with that Colossus. I mean, at the end of the day, negativeZero is losing on resources lost again. But man, it sure doesn't look like it. Those Colossi should be able to deal with those Hydra. And as soon as I say that, Eris has a chance to get a base here. Oh, this is tense here. He could lose his 4th. Is there just too much Zerg? Oh, she's harassing the 3rd with some roaches. And actually, she's taking a base at the same time. Crazy, her APM has crossed over 30,000 at this point. But it looks like negativeZero has held. That was huge. And now he's producing disruptors 2 at a time. I almost wish he'd go with the Colossi. They're the real stars of this army at this point. Eris should be making corruptors to deal with them. She has a Spire, which she's actually converting into a greater Spire at this point. There it is, but she's maxed out. Eris is filling in her supply space with more roaches. That could play into the hands of the Immortals. They love nothing more than to bully roaches. Ooh, a Viper Abduct. But the Colossi have returned to their choke point of death here. And instead of using the high ground, it looks like Eris keeps filling into that choke point. And then negativeZero backs up and starts kiting and he kills himself a lot of units. Oh, I really think Corruptors would help shut this down. negativeZero does have Stalkers, but not enough. negativeZero researching tectonic destabilizers. He went and got a Stargate on me. Is he actually doing an air transition? Yes he is. He's adding in Tempest. That's gonna give him even more range. The Colossus are getting it done with extended thermal lance, which has a range of 9. The Tempest is gonna give him a range of 10. And then at that point, Corruptors may no longer be the answer. Because of course the air-to-air range of the Tempest is even crazier, it's 14. Though I don't know, negativeZero keeps making Disruptors and they're not doing a whole bunch. They kind of look like Disruptors when I try to play them. They look awesome, but they don't do a whole lot. It is the Colossi Immortal combo that's really getting the job done. Another Abduct. That choke has been negativeZero's best friend. He needs to put a little X in the center there with a sign that says die here. Eris doubles down on the roaches. It's not like your supply is dropping, but negativeZero's is gradually climbing. I wonder if we'll get to see what happens when we have double maxed out armies this time. Oh, no, Eris has finally forced him out of that choke. Come on, Negi, send some disruptor shots into that choke. She's begging for it, she's just staying there. Meanwhile, negativeZero trying to expand. What if he manages to get his 5th up? We are at the 12-minute mark here, and look at the creep on that map. A Tempest is out. negativeZero really has the tech, but what he doesn't have is space. You can definitely tell where the observers are. Those are the little patches that don't have creep on them. Everywhere else is purple. Eris is throwing everything at that 5th, trying to stop it from getting up. She's got infestors in there. I'd love to see some neural parasites. Protoss has so many juicy units available. Oh man, is that Nexus actually gonna get up? negativeZero, his APM is approaching 40,000. Eris is producing Corruptors now, likely in response to that Tempest. But I think it's gonna have the indirect benefit of helping her deal with the Colossi. Meanwhile, Protoss looks to be getting more and more serious about its air. He's adding an additional Stargate, he's getting +1 air attack. Eris is also getting +1 air. There is 50 kills on one of those Colossi. That is insane. That is a hero unit, that's for sure. And it's down to 10 hit points. It's completely recovered its shields, but it was down to 10 at one point. Oh, Eris seems to have given up on the Corruptors. She's going back to Mass Roach, and it's not working. Though it's not working. She does have the map. What's troubling for her is that negativeZero's army size just keeps slowly rising. His 5th base is up. Somehow he's holding that, even with the Zerg right next to him. Oh, we got a message. Eris is looking to try to change things up with a Baneling drop. Anyways, what has changed here is the resources lost stat. The eye test has now proven to be true. Probably thanks to the ultra-efficient Colossi, Zerg is now losing on resources lost. And while I'm yakking, negativeZero is maxed out. Now we find out if Eris can be stopped. This is the full force of negativeZero. I feel like a good chunk of that supply is almost wasted in Disruptors. Oh, big fungal hit there. negativeZero is gonna shrug that off. He's got the bigger army now. Zerg can't just muscle her way out of this like she has in previous encounters. The Hydras are almost all gone and the Roaches aren't gonna cut it. Eris does have 5 Corruptors though. The problem is it might be too little too late. There are 7 Tempests out on the field now. 4 in the current assault. negativeZero with 70,000 APM. He is everywhere. It took him 15 minutes, but negativeZero has taken control of this game. But if you looked at the minimap, you would have no idea that Zerg is in trouble. Eris is still pulling more minerals. She's looking to try to rebuild her Hydra count. And it looks like I missed that somewhere along the way. Eris lost her Baneling nest. She's rebuilding that now. My favorite Colossus with 10 hit points now has 70 kills on it. He is a big reason why Protoss is killing it on resources lost. Eris loses a hatch. Her worker count has fallen from 90 to 75. She's throwing her money into Hydraling, and that is a formula that is not working for her. The Corruptors need to get those Colossi, but they just can't do it with the Tempest around. Okay, Eris heard me, here she goes. The Corruptors are properly grouped up, the Tempest are not. That's an exploit, and now they can go after the Colossi. The scattered Tempest may have been a mistake, that could let Eris back into this game. Why are the Corruptors not going for the Colossi? They're not going for the Colossi. Somehow both Colossus got out of that. Meanwhile, the hero Colossus count rises to 83. I apologize, I'm just obsessed with that. negativeZero's putting pressure on another hatch. The drones have been pulled and the hatch is down to yellow. The Zerg income is now inferior to the Protoss. Eris tries to rebuild an Evo chamber but has to cancel it. negativeZero is everywhere, he's got double the army size now. An observer has arrived and the creep is starting to recede. With that tectonic destabilizer upgrade, each of those Tempests is doing an extra 40 damage against structures. Eris is only making Hydras now, and they are just worm food for the Colossi. This has turned out to be a pretty interesting game. About 6 or 7 minutes ago, I was wondering if there was any path to victory for negativeZero. Now I'm trying to see if there's anything Eris can do to get out of this. The Corruptors are doing great work on the Tempest. They just seem to have forgotten that they can also shoot Colossi. I feel like if negativeZero had made himself a third Colossi, he'd have won the game by now. But it is important that he has those Immortals in front to tank. Not sure what I can say about the Disruptors. Maybe they deserve a participation trophy. But consistent with my theme of getting everything wrong. Oh, Hatch gonna be going down. I was gonna say, watch, one of the Disruptors is gonna do an awesome move just to prove me wrong. I think that Hatch might have been the death knell for Eris. Especially look at those Tempests, they're now clumped up. The Corruptors are no longer gonna be able to pick them off one by one. That might be the missing piece for negativeZero. Collectively, those Tempests will do so much damage against structures, I think they can one-shot a Hatch. negativeZero is now laying siege to the natural. He fills out his supply by adding in more Immortals, which is perfect because Eris gave up on the Hydras and went back to Roaches again. Zerg is down to 10 workers. There's no money coming in for Zerg. Zerg has no gas. And I mean that in terms of both resources and momentum. A human would be hunting for the GG key at this point, so I think we will speed this up and get to the elimination. What this means is that the series is going to be tied up 1 game apiece. Our best of 7 is now a best of 5, and I will be left head scratching because Eris handled this strategy so handily in the first game. And I think that's something we're going to have to talk about. But first, here's our GG, or rather elimination condition. Congratulations to negativeZero. So I thought in the post game I was going to talk about how negativeZero was unable to adjust his strategy from game 1 and it resulted in a predictable loss. And how a human in a best of 7 series will almost always make adjustments following a loss. But it looked like negativeZero ran the exact same build, as did Eris, but negativeZero got a completely different result. So the question is, why? We saw that this time negativeZero got his timing attack ready 2 seconds earlier. Was that the tipping point? Did the 2 seconds make the difference? Or was it perhaps the map? It's hard to see why. 2,000 atmospheres and glittering ashes are very similar in size and layout. One possible explanation, though, is that glittering ashes offered that choke point at the center, and negativeZero's Colossi got a zillion kills in that kill zone. If you were wondering, by the way, that hero Colossi with 10 hit points, I went back and checked. He survived to the entire end of the game and wound up with 127 kills. If it wasn't the 2 seconds, and it wasn't the choke, what was it? Perhaps the answer will be revealed in Game 3. Will Eris now make an adjustment? Can't wait to find out. Adjutant, if you would please.
Launching Game 3.
Each of our bots has had a pretty decisive win so far, but it feels to me like the ball is back in Eris's court. negativeZero just laid out a pretty convincing win. He was statistically behind, but he ground his way back over the course of 18 minutes. For our map for Game 3, we're gonna play on Curious Minds. This one I have fond memories of. This map seems to have brought us a lot of great games, and occasionally we get to see some very cool interactions between the watchtowers and the sight blockers on the wings or sides of the map. Oh boy, better intro. Our Zerg player is one of the largest known dwarf planets in our solar system. She is Eris! And she's gone pool first, following that up with double gas, which is usually used for a Ravager rush. At least when human players do it. Our Protoss player is gonna need to scout this. He is negativeZero! He did scout right after that pylon, and he had a chance to see that Roach Warren go down. Is he programmed to respond to a Ravager rush? Given that he's in the grand finals, I'm gonna guess yes. But I'm betting that defending a Ravager rush and defending a Ravager rush by Eris are two different things. That's a second gateway and a core on its way. Eris is not droning. She's speed mining with just 6 drones on minerals, 6 on gas. She is clearly saving her pennies for when that roach warren finishes. Oh, negativeZero, chrono boosting a zealot. If he saw what we saw, I don't know if that's the right choice. Good for a Ling rush, not necessarily for Ravagers. Well, I guess we better make sure that's what this is. 3 roaches in production, cores about to complete. The scouting probe is still alive and well in the main. negativeZero should see this for what it is. Though seeing and understanding could be two different things. I am chewing my fingernails off here. Probe's getting run out of the main. Oh, double shield batteries going down for Protoss. We'll have to see where, but it looks like Protoss has a plan. The Ravagers are out, 3 of them. This is a textbook Ravager rush. It's just coming faster than Bly does it. The first casualty's gonna be that probe scout, it looks like. He did his job though. negativeZero stopped building zealots, he's switched to stalkers. Ravagers are scary when they come early. You'll notice that Overlord poking around, he's central to this. He gets the Ravagers the vision they need to land those vials. negativeZero has transitioned completely to defending. Does he know how to do this? Because it's on his doorstep. Remember, there's no battery overcharge available because negativeZero never got a chance to expand to his natural. So the shield batteries can get exhausted. They can also get destroyed. Watch negativeZero prove me wrong and those zealots are gonna turn out to be critical. But I think they just get kited and killed. Stalker is much more useful, but negativeZero just doesn't have enough of them. The left shield battery's already run dry. The one on the right is halfway gone. Protoss is chrono boosting warp gate research. He's lost the left battery. What he really can't afford to lose is his core. Every Protoss player puts his core in his wall and every Protoss player regrets it, though I've yet to be shown any real viable alternative. The Ravagers have forced their way inside, but they are being met by Stalkers. Eris sees that that's not optimal and he pulls back. negativeZero starts up a robo. That's a long ways away. But boy, would an Immortal or a Colossi come in handy right about now. Especially if it was a certain hero Colossi. Eris is losing his Ravagers about as fast as he can reinforce them. He might be losing steam here. negativeZero could have the hold. Eris is not giving up though. He continues to commit to this. The Stalkers are coming down the ramp. They are going on offense now. Even the slow lot is getting in on it. He gets the kill. And negativeZero puts down a Nexus at his natural. And that puts a ton of pressure on the Zerg. If negativeZero can hold pat, he winds up coming way ahead. Eris is doubling down. He's sending out more Ravagers. He's got to clump them up though. If they keep running over single file, they're just gonna get bopped. No sign of droning, just more Roach Ravagers for Eris. I'm starting to feel safe saying he's going all in at this point. negativeZero's gonna corner another Ravager. Those bad boys are 100 minerals, 100 gas apiece. They need to do a bit more here. I'm starting to feel like the Zealots are like fishing bait. The Ravagers love to go after them, and that's when the Stalkers come out. I still feel like negativeZero would be better off just making more Stalkers in this situation. Oh, negativeZero starting up a second robo. Oh, he's gonna wind up so far ahead here. And look at the resources lost. That shows the story. The Zerg has lost twice as much resources as the Protoss. And dancing around in the middle of the map is not gonna get it done for Eris. Look at the non-existent creep spread. This is a very different game than the last two. I feel like Eris is not playing her game here. She went for the build order win and negativeZero was ready for it. And as soon as I say that, Eris wins on the battlefield and has another chance to get something done here. She has a chance to get those vials out and assassinate the core. negativeZero, instead of making Immortals as I had thought, he's going ahead and making Observers. Only there's no creep to deal with, no cloaked units. They're just essentially clogging the double robo. And maybe that's an error that gives Eris a little bit more time to try to get this back on. Zerg is getting control back of the outside of the base. It's close. Who's got this? The Ravager kills the Stalker. It will get reinforced. Here comes Ravager number 2. Yeah, those Observers not gonna do a lot. Eris needs to drop some vials right now. She hits the shield battery. negativeZero trying to take a third. I'm not sure he appreciates the level of peril that he's in. Eris finding new life here. Kill the core, kill the core. No core, no stalkers. What is he gonna do? Fight you with observers? Actually, he's gonna fight you with the double immortal that he's now making. Yee. Eris gets 3 Ravagers inside the base. I think there's a window here though. The immortals are gonna be able to shut this down. Eris needs to do her damage right now. negativeZero is 26 workers ahead. He's pulling in 3 times the amount of minerals right now. I wanted to see a dead core, but some dead probes might be a nice consolation prize. Another idea is negativeZero's gates are all running off of just 2 pylons. Oh, a new round of stalkers coming in from the main. They might clean this up. It takes 39 seconds to make an immortal, but you can warp in a stalker a lot quicker than that. Oh, I feel like that window just shut. negativeZero has 5 stalkers and they're backed by 2 immortals. Eris has to kite like she's never kited before and hit every bile. In the words of Monty Python, Zerg is in great peril. Let me go and face the peril. No, it's too perilous. And that peril is a mini Protoss death ball. No single Ravager streaming across the map is going to be able to take that on. And there's not a lot of transition options available for the Zerg. I'd be wanting spine crawlers to try to buy some time, but really, when you're in a 3-to-1 income situation, there's not a lot that can be done. I've been wrong about 7 times before today, but I think Eris has played her hand here. Speaking of being wrong, the observers are actually going to make themselves useful and reveal the creep tumors. Actually, that's probably helpful for the Zerg. Every second Protoss waste killing meaningless creep tumors in the natural gives Zerg a little bit more time to try to get an army together. Ugh, Eris is even mining out. Protoss battles up the final ramp. The immortals represent just too much power. Eris is down to her last 3 combat-ready units, and they are dying off. That is it. Eris is trying to bake 2 more roaches, but they're just gonna meet the immortals once they pop out. And negativeZero is gonna take a lead in the series, 2-1. Incredible. After game 1, I thought this was gonna be a 4-0. I nitpicked on negativeZero's composition, but this was a really great hold. negativeZero's team painstakingly programmed where to put those shield batteries, when to do it, what to do it with, and it worked. I always say if you want to learn how to defend a Roach Ravager rush, you need to watch Clem. But if you played Protoss, that's probably not a lot of help to you. If you're a TOS player, maybe you want to watch negativeZero? Maybe. You can't really replicate what negativeZero is doing because you just can't mine like negativeZero. Oh, I love how every time negativeZero destroys a building, he immediately splits his army to fight off the broodlings. Look at that, an explosion of blue clicks as he pulls back to kite. That's really neat. A perfectionist right to the end. And that's going to be the elimination condition as that last extractor goes down. Congratulations to negativeZero. Great hold by negativeZero. I mean, I whined about the zealots and the observers, but you can't argue with the results. negativeZero had the double battery, he had the stalkers, and he teched up to immortals. The one thought, or really a question, I had for Eris is it possible to program her to target the wall like the professional players do? For example, Scarlet will always drop her biles consistently at the joint or the intersection between the core and the gateway. Corrosive biles have a radius of 0.5 and can hit 2 buildings simultaneously if you hit that joint. It's not easy to do, but Pro Bots seem to be great at doing things that are not easy to do. So, what does Eris do now? She's down a game, her rush build failed, and her organic macro game is 50-50. Let's find out. Adjutant, if you would please.
Launching Game 4.
Oh man, do I love negativeZero's opener. That probe split is just beautiful to watch. Okay, so Game 4, it's gonna be on Hardwire. Eris looks to be droning, but let's do those intros just in case. She's in the top right, she's down a game, and she's battling for the legacy of the first bot to ever become a 3-time champion. She is Eris! negativeZero did scout after his pylon once again. He was definitely rewarded for that last game. Our Protoss player is just 2 wins away from claiming his former title. He is negativeZero! So now that it's starting to shape up, like both our players are playing standard games again, I mean, we'll have to see. But assuming so, we then gotta wonder what kind of map is Hardwire. Is it similar to 2000 Atmospheres where Eris won, or is it similar to Glittering Ashes where negativeZero won? To my mind, Hardwire is kind of the opposite of Glittering Ashes, because instead of a choke at the center, it's actually filled up with rocks. But I guess if you take the time to destroy all the destructible debris, then at that point, it really is kind of like Glittering Ashes. And this entirely assumes I'm right that the map is a variable here. It's entirely possible the different outcomes in Game 1 and Game 2 turned on another variable that I just don't appreciate. Perhaps some small piece of coding instruction, if this then that I do not know. Anywho, Probe's gonna see that natural pop. Always nice to see the great purple geyser. People say you gotta see Old Faithful erupt at least once in your life, but I say it's got nothing on a hatchery. But for some inexplicable reason, the level of tourism on the planet Char is actually quite light. I'm not sure why that is, it's definitely warm and sunny. Once again, we can see Eris is checking for those proxies. She's trying to sniff out skullduggery, but we can see that there is none. Core completes. Will we get a robo? Will we have Hero Colossi? We definitely have the same Adept and Warp Gate research, and there is indeed gonna be a robo. 3rd time's a charm, people. Who's got this? While things are heating up, I want to take a moment to thank the guy who sent me these awesome replays. His name is Drex Sama. He is one of the hosts of Pro Bots. Their channel is called ES Champ. So if you're digging the bot wars, that is a great place to go for content. There's also a lot of information on how to design your own bot. Link in the description below. The Adepts are out. They are exercising that map control. Eris has her Lings out on the map as well. They do not yet have Ling speed. That's under research. For me, that always conjures up an image of Hydras in a library. They're trying to understand the Dewey Decimal System. Oh, no door guard. Ling gets inside. He's gonna kill himself a probe. That's good for a first blood. That looked like precision timing. The Ling got in just seconds before the Stalker could arrive. I'm thinking some clever dude on Team Eris worked that out, but perhaps it was just lucky. Regardless, Eris is hoping that's a good omen. She needs to tie this up. The Adepts have not been terribly effective in this series so far, mostly because Eris's drone defense is just perfect. Anytime a drone takes a hit, that drone is just out of there. And since she's only pulling a single drone, the lost mining time is really light. negativeZero is once again gonna get the scout on the Roach Warren though. He's already got the support bay being made. So we can assume it's gonna be Roach Ravager against Hero Colossi once more. We need that Bonnie Tyler song from Footloose. I gotta stop yakking and put in a pause so we can add that in post. I'm not entirely sure what the song is called, but I'm gonna take a total flyer and guess that the word hero's in the title. The Colossus is indeed underway. Eris is researching Burrow for her roaches. Well, we've definitely seen her use it for her drones as well. But as we've seen with other Zerg bots, Burrow is a deadly combination with the Roach. The Roach has the ability Rapid Regen. The Roach will heal 7 hit points a second, and there's no upgrade required for that. It's just an ability the Roach has. As we just saw, Thermal Lance is being chrono boosted again. Oh, these Adepts might be a bit past their expiration date at this point. It is not very safe for single units on the creep right now. But props to negativeZero for trying. He keeps shading in. Cancel, cancel, do not let that complete. Okay, good. Oh, look at that. We can already see the Burrow paying off as the drones use it to escape from the attacks of the Adept. I am totally going to be watching for an alert or a message from negativeZero. Will he flash a notification that his build order is ahead of schedule? Because that's another possibility as a variable that might matter. And is it possible that that Ling that snuck in and killed that probe prevented negativeZero from getting ahead of schedule? It's almost like a butterfly effect phenomenon. Can something as small as that first blood actually impact the entire outcome of the game and potentially the series? Protoss takes his 3rd, Zerg takes her 4th. That pattern is very much in line with human PvZ. Eris has the worker lead and is pulling more minerals, but it's not hugely significant at this point. Colossus is done. When does negativeZero push out? Is he waiting for the second Colossus he has in production? Thermal Lance is done. Perhaps he's waiting for +1. Eris starts up roach speed and her own +1. I feel like it's Eris that's ahead of schedule here for some reason, but none of that gives her an answer to Hero Colossi. Though in game 1 her roach count was just so high it just didn't matter. Here we go, we're pushing out. I did not see any tag as to whether we're ahead or behind schedule. negativeZero is pushing out with just a single Colossi, but his second one is almost done. Oh, and once again, he's kind of getting pulled off course by Eris's Lings. Yes, he's even chasing it all the way back home. I don't know if that's deliberate by Eris or not, but if it is, it's brilliant. That is completely delaying the Protoss push. For the price of a 25 mineral Ling, Eris is getting a chance to finish her roach speed. Actually, it'd be free if that Ling gets away. Look at that, negativeZero's all the way back to his third. He does get the Ling, and now he resumes his push. He starts up +2, and we are seeing Warp Prism speed being researched. Eris's army is just about double that of the Protoss, but there's that roach inflation we have to take into account. negativeZero's push has reached the center of the map. That's about where Eris's creep spread is at this point. You know, even if you do get rid of those rocks, there's still not that big of a choke point there. Oh, negativeZero saw something he didn't like. He's headed home. It didn't look like he saw it, but he may have spotted the huge Roach Ravager force headed towards his base. Ideally, negativeZero would have wanted his Colossi to kite all the way back. Those bad boys need space to operate. And to the extent that Eris can push them up against the wall, that is a good thing for the Zerg. Oh wow, she's gonna get all the way up to the natural in the third. But here comes the counterforce. 2 Hero Colossi. There's even an Immortal in there now. The Immortals are kind of the unsung heroes in this. They do a lot of the work bullying back the roaches. And that helps to give the Colossi room to operate. The Stalkers try to do that too, but they die and then nobody remembers them. 3 more Immortals on the way for negativeZero. They can't get here soon enough. The Nexus at the third is taking damage. Biles hit it. I think he's gonna lose it. We're gonna get a laser light show here. It's costing Eris roaches, but she is happy to pay that cost. negativeZero's gonna lose a base at the risk of being Captain Obvious. He did not want that. Oh, he instantly tries to rebuild and is forced to cancel. He tries again. That is a cancel. How many cancels was that? 3, 4? Oh, this is draining his money. He's like on perma-cancel. I mean, being tenacious is good. You gotta get that Nexus up right away, but that might be taking it a little bit too far. Wait until your forces have actually cleaned up the immediate vicinity. You could really see the roaches taking advantage of the burrow. Eris prolonging their lives a lot longer. But now it looks like negativeZero is gonna counterpunch. He's got the Immortals. He's got his favorite composition. I still wonder what would happen if he actually added a third Colossi. Oh, Eris announcing that she attempted some kind of flank. We didn't quite see it. Oh, and is this gonna be the kill zone? That little low ground square box is a place where a lot of Zergs are looking to die. And now negativeZero's doing his thing, backing up, kill, kill, kill. Eris losing the resources lost even after getting a base and a few thousand cancels. But since Eris has the better income, has the superior worker count, she can afford a certain level of drag on resources lost. When you're winning the economy game, you don't have to be the most efficient. But if it gets out of hand, negativeZero wins again. Hydra Den, Baneling Nest, and an Infestation Pit all going down for Zerg. It sort of feels like Eris is considering that the Roach Ravager might not be sustainable. negativeZero adding a 5th Robo. He's actually making 4 Disruptors right now. Based on past game performance, that's a bit of a waste. He'd be much happier with Colossi or Immortals. Oh, Eris lets us in on the fact that she's planning some Ling harass. I think we see it. It's sneaking around the right-hand side of the map. And she's planning a Queen Drop Lord? There's the harass. It's at the unprotected third. Those Lings are gobbling up probes for sure. negativeZero switches back into making a Colossus. He heard me, you know it. Actually, he probably just lost one and he's programmed to make sure he has 2 at all times. Oh no, the Disruptors with the huge friendly fire hits. Oh! negativeZero wiping out his own probes. And a Stalker. The Disruptors are like, dude, why are you saying I'm not contributing? I just got like 10 kills. Dude, those were our own forces. negativeZero needs to bench his Disruptors right now. You guys sit down, sit on your hands that you don't have, and don't do anything. Oh my god, that was horrid. That was like something I would do. I think he can recover from that. But man, that was not good. And now Eris has snuck some Ravagers past the Colossi. Oh, look at that. Eris is proving me wrong. She's attacking the joints. Oh, the bots are just like real human players. They love to prove everything I say in the post game is wrong. She knew exactly where to put that bile. A lone immortal getting it done. He's on his last hit points behind enemy lines, still grabbing kills and dying a hero's death. Whereas every one of those disruptors is still alive. They're not giving their lives for hire, just everyone else's. Spire going down for Eris. It would be huge for her if she could get some corruptors on the field before negativeZero got any Tempest. He does not have a Stargate, but the utility though is that the corruptors will have an easy time wiping out the Colossus. In theory, we saw in a previous game that the corruptors seem to have a problem with that concept. Eris is really amassing a force at the Protoss front gates again. Oh, disruptors trying to make themselves useful, that could be a problem. Eris gets the core, that's the core she wanted in game 3. negativeZero needs to remake that immediately. Eris is getting Vipers. The Vipers have not been a big factor in this series so far, but I've seen other games with Eris where they have been absolutely deadly. We're gonna see that Spire pop here in a moment. negativeZero is rebuilding his core. Unfortunately, he's putting it right out on the battlefield once again. As soon as the Spire finishes, Eris tries to turn it into a greater Spire. She keeps teasing me with Broodlords, but we never actually see any. negativeZero has lost his wall. I think he's cleaning this up, but it doesn't look good. Eris is maxed out and she is sucking up the minerals all over the map. There's a hero Colossi working all by himself. He's got 50 kills, but he can win those skirmishes and still lose the war. Ling is snacking away on that Nexus. They'd love to get that. Eris's income is easily double at this point. The only thing is, we've watched negativeZero win with that condition anyway. Can he do so again? Hero Colossi say yes. The negative participation disruptors say no. The Greater Spire is gonna finish for the Zerg, but I think it's just gonna sit there looking pretty next to the hatchery. But maybe it's time for Corruptors because Protoss has put down a Stargate. And we know negativeZero's not shy about making Tempest. In past games, he's ultimately transferred much of his supply. Oh no! The Disruptors are back to taking out their own units. Coach, you gotta take them out. You gotta take them out of the game. This is actually good for Eris here. One of the hero Colossi is largely engaged just dealing with a single hatchery. Even if he eventually kills it, it's almost worth it just to keep him busy that long. The Colossi is far and above the most efficient unit that Protoss has. And Zerg has got a handle on the third again. The new Cybercore has lost his pylon, and the newly made Stargate is under threat. That's huge. Eris with a chance to keep Tempest out of this game. Boom! Oh, Cybercores look so cool when they blow up. Carriers are even better, but Cybercores are definitely up there. And with the loss of the third, things have turned really ugly for negativeZero. He's about to finish his fleet beacon, but I think he could lose his Stargate before that. If he could somehow hold on to Tempest, maybe he's got a chance. He needs that second Colossi to get back here. Or better still, cancel the Disruptor he's making right now and make a Colossi instead. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Batman and Robin are trying to get something done on creep. One Immortal, one Stalker putting pressure on the Zerg. Oh, message from Eris. She's making Broodlords. She's actually doing it. The first one is out. I totally missed it. Thank you for the notification, Eris. I love you. And Zerg is pulling back, quite possibly to regroup with its new power unit. We've talked before about how critical range is in this series. Extended Thermal Lance has a range of 9. Broodlords have a range of 10. It gets a little more complicated than that because there's something called leash range. But for all intents and purposes, and for our purpose, the Broodlord has a range of 10 and will be superior. An equal range will be the Tempest, if negativeZero can get one, and he is researching tectonic destabilizers right now. Hey, Robin died, but Batman made it all the way into the main. Oh, and then Batman dies. 19 kills on Batman I saw. The Broodlords are here. Colossi are pretty good against Broodlings, but not when there's that many. negativeZero is getting overwhelmed. No Tempest in production to push the Broodlords back. The Protoss fourth falls, he's never remade his third. Only 16 workers left for negativeZero. He is on death's door now. He's researching +1 air attack, but doesn't actually have an air unit to go with it. That means he's remade his cyber core. That's cyber core number 3. And it looks like I missed the fall of one of the hero colossi. He's down to just one. That horde of giant flying stingrays is the Zerg equivalent of the fat lady singing. The elimination condition will not take long with those bad boys on the field. The Vipers using their abducts to hasten the destruction. The only thing that remains to be seen is how many kills can the Hero Colossus get before it dies. He just hit 68. I think he's the last unit for Protoss. And he is really using those Broodling kills to stuff his stats. Eris is adding in lurkers, but I don't think that's relevant anymore. Here comes the death of the starport. Hero Colossus at 79. How cool would it be if Zerg actually didn't eliminate the Colossus, and instead they eliminated the buildings? Oh, there's actually a couple of disruptors left, but Zerg doesn't want to kill them because they've been so helpful. Why would we attack our allies? Colossi kill count, 91. He's like, come on, I'll take you all on. This is his noble last stand. You can't kill me. I'm a Colossi. They do almost have him backed up into a corner though. Oh, Broodlings! Kill count crosses 100. Oh my god, I actually think he's gonna survive. The buildings are gonna go. The Colossus is still gonna be in while the elimination condition is achieved. How long has it been since you've seen a tech unit that high survive to the end of the game? I love how Eris is still bothering to expand. That is devotion to your macro. So we are gonna have a tied series, 2-2 apiece. And now our best of 7 is a best of 3. There's no GG, but negativeZero's been eliminated. His Colossi got a kill count of 123. Wow, I think that was my favorite game so far. Eris with the bounce back win. Where did Negi go wrong here? His push got delayed when he got distracted chasing lone Zerglings back towards his own base. And of course, the disruptors are just a drag on his efficiency, especially when they blow up all of his probes. I think management needs to have a chat with the disruptors. They might have to let them go, or if they want to be more humane, I don't know, maybe they have families to feed, maybe reassign the disruptors to another battle. And then, Team Negi wants to look into recruitment, see if the Colossi have any cousins or friends. Why limit themselves to just 2? What happens if negativeZero gets more than 2 hero Colossi on the field? Conservatively, if each one is worth, say, 50 Zerg kills, it only takes 4 to rack up 200 dead Zerg. Zerg will get crushed on resources lost. I had assumed the Immortals were central to this whole operation. They had to tank for the Colossi, and they were the unsung heroes. But the last 5 minutes of Game 4 suggest otherwise. Apparently, the Colossi can kick butt even on their own. Just make Colossi, and you're good to go. For her part, Eris needs to get to Corruptors faster and figure out how to actually send them at the Colossi. But dang, her macro is just perfection, and her mid-game aggression, taking out the Nexus at the 3rd in this game, was sublime. What happens now? Are the AI just trading wins? Adjutant, if you would please.
Launching Game 5.
All tied up. If this was humans playing, I would say the momentum is shifted back to Eris. But I'm pretty sure that negativeZero isn't having some kind of psychological meltdown here. He's gonna continue to execute the commands that he has been given. And that includes the wise decision of putting down that initial pylon and scouting. Maybe we better be safe and get those intros in. Our Protoss player in the bottom right, in blue, is a defeatist of no quantity. He is negativeZero. negativeZero is gonna have to dig deep because his opponent is picking up steam. Introducing our Zerg bot in the upper left. Her Roman name is Discordia, and her opposite is Harmonia. She is Eris! The last thing to mention as we set the stage here is that this time the game's gonna be on the map Berlingrad. This is a comparatively smaller map, at least smaller than some of the maps we've seen so far. You can get to your opponent's doorstep pretty quick. If negativeZero's busting out that exact same timing attack with his Colossi again, maybe that helps him out? So far, both our players appear to be going with the tried and true, but it is early days. That's our proxy checker drone. I feel you, brother. I know what you're up to. Core goes down. Hatch is about to pop. We'll be looking to see if Eris continues with the double queen as she has all series long. Except for that one base Ravager rush. All hail the geyser of goo. I love how negativeZero somehow always seems to have his probe swing by just as it happens. It is indeed double queens for Eris. We assume negativeZero's gonna go for that robo for his tech choice once that court completes. I feel like if negativeZero was a human player, he would skip the adept harass at this point. He's not really getting his money's worth, and he's had much more of a punch with that Colossi timing attack. If he skips the adepts and gets right to it, it could be just that much more powerful. But he's not. He is indeed going with the adepts. And I would bet that in other games where he's not facing a world beater like Eris, he's had a lot of success with his adepts. Oh, by the way, just in case you haven't had a chance to see it, I want to pimp that Thermal has played against Eris. You can see those games on YouTube. Spoiler alert, I'm about to tell you his secret sauce. So if you don't want to hear it, skip ahead or sing Jingle Bells or whatever it is that you do. Anywho, Thermal being one of the smartest dudes in the world, he picks up on the small detail that Eris only responds to drops once the drop actually happens. She doesn't detect the dropship as a threat. So he uses that as his exploit. He drops her like crazy in the early game and stops her from getting to that killer economy. Because Eris is at the stage now where she can beat many Grandmasters. So for humans to compete with that 40, 50,000 APM, they almost always need to find a weakness in her training. You can call it an exploit or just being really clever. Oh, so the adept gets into the main. As before, every time he gets a shot off on a drone, it pulls out. But it is a helpful scout. But we already know from past games it's not going to change anything that negativeZero's doing. He's getting that fast robotic support bay. We're going to see that Colossi. What he does do that I like is while he's waiting for the support bay to finish so he can build his first Colossus, he squeezes out some observers. I do think he needs at least one so he can pare back the creep on that initial push. No kills for the adept, but she is going to get out alive. Looks like she's going to team up with her partner, and the two of them are going to try again. Meanwhile, Eris is going to finish up her Roach Warren, and we know from past experience that's going to make it really tough for those adepts to maneuver. The Roaches can tank the adept shots with ease, and they've got the range to bully them back. Meanwhile, Eris researches Burrow, and the Roaches wind up with that quadruple healing rate. And then as a bonus, the drones get to Burrow whenever they're in trouble. Like I bet they wish they could right now. The double adepts are giving that queen some fits. She can't handle them alone, but she won't have to for long. Those Roaches are about to pop. Shade into the main, there's just a queen there. Prove me wrong, adepts. Change my mind. Show me that Eris is not invincible. A Roach joins the defense. And the adepts shade and they're back at the natural. With two of them, it's possible they could tag a drone, but the Roaches are on them. One adept dies. Two die. And the first one was gonna get the honor of being the first blood. I thought there might have been a drone kill, but there was not. And so here's where it starts to get suboptimal for negativeZero. He's still sending adepts by themselves. I think it'd be better if he just added them to his timing attack. Even if they just soak a couple of hits for the Colossi, it's better than just throwing them away. Thermal Lance is just about done, which tells us negativeZero could go at any time. The Colossus is at the ready. Eris's Roaches and Queens are just tightening the net on these adepts now. And while she's defending, she's simultaneously pushing out her creep. There we go, they got a drone. They said it couldn't be done. I said it couldn't be done. But negativeZero got the drone kill. Not worth the adepts he's throwing away, but it's better than nothing. Eris almost has a lair, and her fourth is almost done as well. Eris has her Ravagers out, and that's making life even worse for the adepts. Oh, negativeZero has pushed out. Here we go. This is where the game really happens. We gotta focus on that Hero Colossi. 1 second. Here it is. This is the phase where it doesn't have immortals. Eris has great position at the top of that ramp. The Zealot Stalker are just melting. But the Observer's giving the Colossus vision at the top of the ramp and he's doing his work. Protoss' screeners are all but gone. Zerg has a shot at that Colossi. Its hit points are low. A bile hits. It's deep in the red, less than 50 hit points. The Roach Ravager are just pushing right at it. The Colossi retreats up to the top of the ramp. Now he's got good position. Eris makes 10 more roaches. As always, she's got the econ advantage in the early game. And in most games, she's been able to maintain that for most of the game. The amazing part is that negativeZero still finds a way to win. Hero Colossi is going home. He's not going to take on the entire Zerg army himself. With no support, he's going to link up with Colossi number 2. There's 3 Stalkers there. Is Eris going to counter push? Roach speed is almost done. So is +1 ranged attack. That's going to put Zerg on even upgrades. Protoss has started +2 attack. Once again, negativeZero stops at 2 Colossi. He's making disruptors. Suddenly there's an icy shiver running down my spine. Oh yeah, Eris is pushing out. The completion of Roach speed was probably her signal. Her army is 4 times the size on supply. Is it enough to push her way up the ramp against double Colossi? Or they could just go kill the 3rd, that works too. Colossi can kite all day, but buildings cannot. With 36,000 APM, Eris doesn't have to choose, she decides to do both. Zerg is going after the 3rd, and she's going after the Colossi. negativeZero is killing roaches by the dozens, but I don't think he can save his Nexus. He absolutely cannot. It goes down, it's a laser light show. And Eris is not done, she's taking shots at the natural. Oh, get the core, get the core. One of the Colossi is caught out of position, taking on single roaches. That leaves his buddy all alone to do the defense at the natural. Eris is rotating her roaches, burrowing them for that quick regeneration. 1 gateway's been destroyed, what else can she get? A 2nd gateway. Eris is so close to taking a lead in this game, she can taste it. The Disruptor makes himself useful and bullies back the Zerg horde. How great would it be for negativeZero if it actually connected? I think it's so hard to land a Nova against an opponent with 50,000 APM. That thing takes like 15 minutes to go off in computer time. Oh, Eris is landing shots on the natural now. The actual Nexus is taking damage. negativeZero cannot lose that Nexus. Absolutely cannot. Eris orders up 13 more roaches. She's so close to being max. She is max now. And Zerg is pulling back. No, she had that. Eris decides she's taking too much punishment from the Colossi. Naturally, because the Colossi are doing so well, negativeZero decides to make more disruptors and observers. Though it's a little harder to argue against the observers when there's that much creep on your doorstep. Somehow, with half the army size, negativeZero's making his move. With 3 immortals to screen, the Colossi are pushing out. I thought this game was over, but negativeZero is showing life. As he counter pushes, he's rebuilding his obliterated 3rd base. Eris has told us she's trying to set up a flank here. Let's see if she can get this to work. Her forces are split. Protoss is walking into the middle of it, but as long as he has an escape route, he can kite his way out of this. Eris starts her Spire. That's a good sign for Zerg. Well, the Colossi damage a hatchery, and that's a signal for Eris to cancel her flank and instead rush all her forces in. Actually, she might get a pretty decent flank by default here. I mean, sometimes F2 works out beautifully. Hydra speed being researched. Eris introducing the first Hydras into her composition. They definitely do better against the Immortals, just not against the Colossi. Oh, a lone roach sacrifices himself and takes out the final Colossi. There are no hero Colossi on the field, and negativeZero is not remaking them. He has the money, and the roaches capitalize by taking down the 3rd yet again. It's a little bit of a base race with the Immortals on the far side of the map going after this hatch here. But if it's to be a base race, Zerg has a huge leg up. There is nothing guarding that natural. Nothing. It's a good thing negativeZero has a bank because, oh my god, Zerg is pulling out. Eris does not want a base race. She wants to defend. I see that as an error, but it doesn't take Eris out of this game by any stretch. Zerg is so far ahead, she can come back, deal with the Immortals, and then head back to win the game. Oh, and she did leave a couple of roaches behind to do some damage to the probes. Protoss's probe count is dropping. It'll drop even more if that Disruptor decides to help. The entire Zerg army throws itself against the Immortals. They run out of space to kite. They die. Oh, the Disruptor getting a shot off on the roaches. Of course, that's after all the probes are dead. I'm so critical of those poor Disruptors. Why can't we just love them for what they are? And now the minimap tells us that Zerg is coming right back. They hit the pause button just long enough to deal with those immortals. Truly, Eris is a defense-first oriented bot, and now Protoss has no army. Other than that one disruptor and one stalker, it's 5 observers. Protoss has lost his core. He has a Stargate, but since he doesn't have a fleet beacon, my guess is he won't use it. It's earmarked for Tempest. It's not like a Void Ray was gonna save him. Unless that disruptor can do something truly transformative here, Eris is gonna take the lead in the series and be 1 game away from destiny. Eris's goal is to become the most victorious bot of all time in the StarCraft AI arena, and she only needs to rinse and repeat this 1 more time. There is a lot of DPS in the main right now, and a lot of bodies. The disruptor target fires a single Zergling instead of 20 roaches. Is he gonna be like his Colossi brother and survive to elimination? There's also 2 Zealots now, not a great choice, but negativeZero built those because he couldn't build anything else. Victory is upon us. Eris is gonna win 3 games to 2, and that's gonna make it match point for Eris. From here on out, negativeZero must be flawless. Whoa. So Eris can kill Hero Colossi. I'm not sure what the formula is there exactly, but it looks like the Roach can actually tank the hits and dart forward and get the shot off for the kill. The Roaches just can't do so consistently. But that means Negi is in big trouble. He's on death's door now. Nothing more to say, let's get to it. Adjutant, if you would please.
Launching Game 6.
And here's where it starts to get really interesting. Does Eris have a Mortal Kombat finishing move? Does negativeZero have it within himself, deep within his code, to stay alive and extend this series? negativeZero's once again scouting after that pylon, so let's get to our intros. Our Protoss player is a reversed photographic image with no integer whatsoever. He is negativeZero! Eris has gone for that hatch first, and so let's talk about her. Our Zerg player is the stuff that we breathe with the conjugated verb to be. She is Eris! And that sets our stage, other than the obligatory mention that we are playing this time on Blackburn. Blackburn's gonna bring us those inhibitor zones, as well as gold bases. We'll have to see if that changes anything. That drone, as we now know, is just Eris doing her proxy checks. negativeZero, though, has kept his nose clean all series long. That is an honest bot's nexus he's putting down at his natural. Eris has her pool down. So far, it looks like things are going to shape up very much like we've come to be familiar with in this series. negativeZero's gonna ride or die on his 2 Colossus push, eventually teching into that Tempest. Eris looks to be going for her reactive roaches, whereupon she eventually transitions into pretty much everything, Hydras and then even Broodlords. They could certainly shake it up, but I think they're pretty set in their ways. Core goes down. Is either bot coded to prioritize a chance on those gold minerals? The idea of Eris on gold minerals is a pretty scary concept. Core is gonna complete, and then we're gonna get to the adept phase of our evening. Yes, we are. One's getting chrono boosted right away. negativeZero's ably microed his adepts throughout this series, but they have not been very effective for him. He's typically paid out more than he's gained. Robo goes down at the tech stashing pylon. No surprises there. He'll sneak out an observer, getting his Robo Bay as soon as possible so he can make those 2 Colossi. Eris puts down her 3rd. I always find Blackburn a weirder map to push creep out on, but I bet Eris has no problem whatsoever. Here comes our first adept. She comes from Kansas and plays the oboe, but in her spare time she engages in astral projection and kills drones, or tries to at least. If I was piloting the drone, she'd have killed 10 by now. Eris, probably not. She's already getting Ling speed, but it's really that Roach Warren that really shuts it down. But in the meantime, the Queen seemed to man the fort just fine. As I've said before, the Adepts do get the scout off, and that is important. But in a series running this many games where the build's unchanged, it becomes less of a big deal. The main point of the Adept harass is to slow down the Zerg's economy, and so far in this series, slow is not a word that we would apply to Eris. She is a freight train that just gathers momentum. Right now, Protoss is still in that happy place where it still has more workers than the Zerg, but that doesn't last once that third base completes. Robo Bay has gone down and Observer is on the way. Eris starts up Burrow. Right now, the deja vu feeling is pretty strong. To my mind, almost none of this windup particularly matters. What I want to see is that Colossus push. Will it do damage? Will it get a hatch? Because that really seems to be a decisive moment for negativeZero and what happens for him for the rest of the game. And he does that first push without Immortals. We've seen it be ineffectual, and we've seen it be devastating. That first Colossi is in production. I wonder if he knows the entire tournament rests on his shoulders. No pressure, buddy, but we're gonna need you to be a hero with a zillion kills. Roaches are in production. This is where the Adepts all start to die. I really would prefer he add the Adepts to his timing attack. It seems to be such a razor's edge moment that who knows, 2 or 3 extra Adepts might make the difference. Even if all they do is soak a couple of hits from roaches. I mean, even better if they were stalkers instead, but I'm assuming that's not an option. Oh, this Zergling running from Adepts has perfect timing. He's gonna catch the probe trying to put down the third Nexus. He gets it, that's a nice pickoff. Oh, and there's a Colossus just standing there doing nothing about it. He's got orders to wait for his timing window. Oh, that Ling really seems to want to push the issue here. And now negativeZero sends out a second probe. Oh, is the Ling gonna get a chance to snack on that too? He is. The Observer's just gonna film it. Maybe turn it into a TikTok video or something. Come on, Colossi, go kill that thing. No, he stays put. A third probe comes out. Oh, if he does it again, I'm gonna get enraged. No, the probe is gonna get the Nexus down this time. I don't know why. That Zergling had a chance to make it a hat trick. But for that matter, I don't know why the very large army just 2 feet away didn't do anything to defend the probes. Thermal Lance is about to complete. I think that's the go sign. Eris expands to the gold. negativeZero needs to know about that. He does not. It would be super for him if he could shut that down. The Colossus would be very effective shooting over those minerals. Second Colossi is about to pop out. Thermal Lance is done. I think this is where the magic happens. Warp Prism speeds being researched. We haven't seen that be a factor in quite some time. It's go time, but once again, the Protoss is chasing a stray Zergling. I still don't know if Eris does this on purpose, but boy does it work. We saw a flash of a message from negativeZero. He announced that he's ahead of schedule. Last time we saw that, he pulled the W, but he's only ahead less than a second. And surely he's lost at least that much time chasing that Zergling. Oh, but the detour means he's actually coming close to the gold. That could be very good for negativeZero. He should see the creep. He should figure out it's there. Could he even hit it from the high ground? No, he's pushing in for the Zerg third. Here comes the Roach Ravager defense. Who's got this? Oh, the Biles look good. They're hitting the Stalkers. Dead Stalker limbs scattered across creep. negativeZero's pulling back. Is this his kiting game or is he giving up? I think Eris is successfully defended. The damage was minimal. Additional robo being made. I do not see any Immortals in production. I think this is bad for negativeZero. Eris has hit 65 workers, 170 supply. She has a significant income lead and is winning resources lost, having taken almost no losses at all. And here comes that counter push. We've seen this before. negativeZero has held it. He's also fallen to it. Eris goes after that third base. If she gets it, negativeZero is way behind. negativeZero has chosen the more defensible location for his third though. It looks like he can intercept and still use the ramp. Eris just getting raked over the coals by those Colossi. There's an Immortal in there now to hold the line. Zerg has a clear path to get to the third though. Will Eris take it or will she smash herself trying to get at the wall? I'm on pins and needles here. Eris takes a 5th base behind this. And for some crazy reason, negativeZero's contemplating getting a 4th. Oh, Biles are starting to hit that wall. Eris is going for gold here. Core's gone. This could be it. This could be the series. Eris's force is dying off, but she has done so much damage. Zerg's making 9 roaches to reinforce. Protoss is making 3 more immortals. Zerg is up the ramp, up the ramp. Negi has got to hold. He's got to. So many roaches are burrowing for the heal. They're starting to go to work on that third. I think he's just losing too much here. If the third falls, it's over. If the natural falls, it's over. Eris's roaches are dying, but she is pumping them out like it's a water faucet. negativeZero is closing the gap on army. I think he's got the cleanup. He's gonna save the third. Eris's counteroffensive has stalled. Negi comes out of the gate like a man possessed and starts a +3 attack. The rallying roaches arrive, but they are too late. They are getting cut down one at a time. An incredible hold by negativeZero. But none of this really changes the fact that Eris has the gold and has the killer economy that she needs. negativeZero needs to do more than hold. He needs to do damage. And that is exactly what he's setting out to do here. He is countering. He is countering the counter. And shockingly, his Colossi have a remarkably low number of kills on them. Compared to game past, the Immortals don't have that many either. It looks like much of the work in that hold was really actually done by the Stalkers, who are now all being rewarded by being killed in the counterattack. Talk about giving your life for ire. I had a friend who used to hear that line that the Zealots made, "My life for ire." And he thought they were saying, "I work for hire." And he always thought the Protoss were some kind of mercenary race. Well, the Stalkers who were doing the heavy lifting are indeed just about all gone. But there is a critical mass of Stalkers, and that is very tough for the roaches to deal with. But negativeZero cannot just be a handful. He needs to kill a saturated base, preferably the gold. But I really like what Eris is doing. She's pumping out more lings and less roaches at this point. The Immortals are going to have a huge problem with all those lings. The Colossi, on the other hand, do not. So the secret sauce is going to be, can Eris get the lings to go after the Immortals without going after the Colossi? Oh, and look at that, look at that. The Colossi are just burning the Zerglings off of the Immortal. Eris still gets it, but she has to pay for it big time. Holy Toledo, it now looks like Eris is the one with the sick hold. She has forced negativeZero back. What a back and forth game this is. The Colossi are starting to get into hero mode here. One of them has over 30 kills, the other one over 20. One of them is badly injured, but as we know, that only seems to make them stronger. And now Eris is pulling back. The Colossi are moving forward. They have no bodyguards this time, nothing to screen for them. Which, for most of us, would be complete folly. But negativeZero can make it work. We've seen him. In fact, I secretly believe the best unit to back up his Colossus would be more Colossus. I know that makes no sense from any kind of strategic standpoint, but that's kind of what we're seeing in this very unusual series. What we're also seeing is that negativeZero's army size continues to climb. He's remaking his Immortals, and he's rebuilding the gateways that he lost. Oh, Eris warns us that she's going for a Queen Dropper Lord. She said that before in another game, and I'm not sure what that is, but it does indeed involve a Drop Lord picking up a Queen. Why, I'm not so sure. It might have to do with creep distribution. But, oh! Those Biles just missed the Colossi. They were dropping all around them. That might have been a big moment. Because now, oh, he gets one of the Colossi. Eris gets a Colossi. Remember, negativeZero will not remake it. But still, the Protoss army is catching up to the Zerg. negativeZero seems to win when he has the bigger army. The new Immortals are here, and they are punishing the Zerg. Eris is now transitioning into Hydras. We've seen her do that. She's also making the Spire. The Spire, though, does not get used effectively. Well, if we exclude that she changes it into a greater Spire and makes Broodlords. I mean, in the immediate term. And now, negativeZero has the bigger army. His Immortal count is just getting huge. I think Eris needs to go back to Zerglings pronto. She is getting the Crackling upgrade. But in the meantime, she stands to lose her forward base here. The Immortals just blow it apart. The only bad news for negativeZero is that he's got Disruptors out at this point. The fantastic news for him is that he's making that Stargate. Eris has not been able to stop his Tempest in this series. negativeZero's now up to 5 bases, and that includes his own gold. He is actually outmining the Zerg now. What a momentum shift. I totally thought negativeZero was out of this game. I thought Eris was gonna hoist the trophy. I thought Eris was gonna go where no bot had gone before, but negativeZero is not gonna let that happen. He's battled all the way into the main at this point. He's bringing down the Zerg base in the top center. He's controlling the ramp to the natural. Eris's supply is absolutely falling. negativeZero's everywhere at once. His APM has crossed over into 70,000. I did not make that up. 70,000. That is insane. That means that's over 1,000 actions a second. negativeZero is close to maxing out. He's even generating a bit of a bank here. Eris is going Ling Hydra in a last-ditch effort to try to stay alive, but her units are either going to pop out at hatcheries far away or with the Protoss right on top of them. Tempests are now in production, so is Tectonic Destabilizer. The natural is gone, Zerg is in shambles. negativeZero is a hair's breadth away from tying this up. negativeZero is indeed going to tie this up and take us to Game 7. Zerg has no army left. Maybe a queen somewhere? No. No queen, nowhere. This is building mop-up only now. No doubt both bots are turning their minds to Game 7. I joke, of course. I'm pretty sure they're not capable of that. I am gonna speed things up here. My voice just might start to sound funny as it gets sped up. Zerg is about to lose the last of her tech structures as fire falls. Oh, it's GG! I did not know that unlike negativeZero, Eris is capable of determining when a game is lost and ending it early. That is awesome. Bonus points have got to be awarded for that. That is real class. Nicely done, Team Eris. Anyways, the reports of the death of negativeZero have been greatly exaggerated. So let's not mess around here. Let's get to the rubber match. Let's get to Game 7. Adjutant, if you would please.
Launching Game 7.
This is it. It has all come down to this one final game. I counted out Eris, she came back. I counted out negativeZero, he came back. The only thing we've learned for sure is that I'm not a very good counter. Our final match will be on Berlingrad. I think we've officially run out of maps in the pool because we've definitely played here before. That was in Game 5, an Eris victory. Oh, we've had a fast pool. We've got to do intros immediately. Zerg is Eris! After a massive 20-minute back and forth games, Eris is going to try to end this with a rush. I am pretty gobsmacked. Protoss is negativeZero! There's almost no question that negativeZero is going to get the scout on this. He's scouted early every game. The question is, will he react to it? In Game 3, he did respond and react to the Roach Ravager rush on Curious Minds. negativeZero made double shield batteries and it worked. He sees it. He sees it. He gives us an allied chat to confirm he knows what he just saw. There goes the Roach Warren. And with the double gas, that tells us that Eris is likely to go for Ravagers. This is confirmation that Eris does not use data. Because this is a strategy that failed for Eris before, yet she's gonna ride or die with it in a Game 7. I mean, I'm assuming she's doing the same thing. There could be a twist to it. negativeZero responds by chrono boosting a Zealot. That's not great. Good for a Zergling rush, not so useful against Ravagers. But it's better than expanding and making a bunch of probes. What he needs is the shield batteries. His core's gone down, he's getting a second gate. Roach Warren's about to pop, there it is. Immediately, 3 roaches go into production. No expansion for Eris. This is a one-base strategy. There's a single queen, but her sole focus is to get more larvae. That probe is still circling. He can see that Roach Warren. Okay, there it is. 2 shield batteries have gone down. I guess that makes sense. He needed his core to complete first. And now he's making stalkers, which is better. Roach is gonna kill that scout. That's gonna be the first blood. Let me just check. Yes, and that's actually going to be our final first blood of this epic series. Now what remains is who will get the last blood. It's going to be 3 Ravagers to start this off. Does negativeZero have one more sick hold within him? I often find if Protoss loses his cyber core, he winds up too far behind, but that hasn't seemed to matter to negativeZero. He's been able to recover and rebuild, but he does not have Colossi at this point. The Overlord arrives to get Zerg vision. No drones at all for Eris, just roach, roach, roach. This is as all in as a machine can get. Protoss already has a worker lead of 9. If he can hold, he will be far ahead. But Zerg has a much bigger army. The batteries are going to be critical. Oh, negativeZero officially lets us know that he knows it's a Ravager rush. That means he's programmed with a specific defense strategy. Let's see if it works. Was there a misidentification earlier? Did it cost him? He got the batteries. It turns out negativeZero disagrees with me. Even though he knows it's a Ravager rush, he's still making those zealots. But he is getting a Twilight instead of a Robo. Perhaps the idea is he wants to get the charge upgrade. The Ravagers are pushing their way inside. They get one of the batteries. They should be able to hang back and get the second battery. Eris needs to hit that joint. She does. Eris almost gets the second battery, but then redirects. negativeZero hanging on by a thread. He clears it. The next wave of Ravagers will be here imminently. But he has held the first wave. And he's increased his worker lead to 14. Eris has killed 0 workers. Oh my god, negativeZero puts down his Nexus. That sends a clear message to Zerg. If Protoss holds, this game is over. Says the guy who's declared games over in this series about 7 times and been wrong pretty much most of the time. Eris's army is double the size. She needs to bomb the gates in the core and the battery. Another hit on the battery, but it survived again. Eris keeps changing her corrosive bile targets, giving everything with shields a chance to recover. Second wave has been held. And the third wave does not look very mighty here. Protoss is out of his base now, eager to meet the Zerg head on. negativeZero's warping in more stalkers, and he is getting a Robo. An Immortal would be a huge problem for the Zerg right now. He's also getting the charge lot upgrade. That's gonna make his Zealots so much harder to kite. Right now, Eris is feasting on the Zealots, but the Stalkers are feasting on the Ravagers. No sign of any adjustments by Eris, she's just making more roaches. The third wave is dead. Is the fourth time a charm. This time it's 2 Ravagers. They easily dispatch a Zealot, but the Stalker count's getting pretty high. There's 4 of them. And now Eris is kind of forced to use his biles on the Stalkers instead of the buildings. And the stellar APM of negativeZero is gonna dodge those. And he holds the 4th wave with ease. The 5th wave is a single Ravager, which was probably supposed to be part of the 4th. Maybe he can get that Zealot, but even so, he's gonna fall to those Stalkers. And now, after 7 games, Eris has got to be terrified. negativeZero gets the Overlord and strips away Zerg's vision of his base. No sign of any transition. It looks like all Eris has here is roaches and Ravagers. And now Protoss is starting to intercept them in the middle of the map. This reminds me of those StarCraft 2 arcade games. What are they called? Direct Strike or Lane Defense? Where each side is continually making the same units and they're meeting in the middle and one slowly forces the other back. The ability to group your units into a squad is going to be critical here. And it looks like Eris is just not going to get an opportunity to do that. 4 Stalkers versus 1 Roach. I don't like Zerg's odds even with the badly injured Stalker. Eris hits the right target, gets one of the Stalkers, but she's still going to fall. negativeZero's pushed all the way to the Zerg entrance. The good news for Eris here is that Protoss has wasted his Robo by building observers. Certainly there's no cloaked units to deal with, and there's not a lot of creep to clear. And now the Queen's at risk of getting picked off here. negativeZero's adding another gate, and he's researching Blink. He's finally come around to my point of view. He's trashing the Zealots, going with the Stalkers. Now an Immortal would be the death blow, but it's probably not even needed here. Oh, a Roach tries to morph into a Ravager right in front of the Protoss at the top of the ramp. He is gonna get cut down. Fresh Stalkers joining up to reinforce. Eris fighting to hold her ramp, but this is looking like a lost cause. Eris identifies the counterattack as Mass Stalker, but she does not have the tech to do anything differently. She doesn't even have Ling speed to try Zerglings. And so at the risk of being CNN here, I would like to declare negativeZero as the Season 2 champion. That's gonna make him join the ranks of, coincidentally, Eris and Micro Machine as the only other bots to achieve such a pinnacle. The evolution of additional pylons has reached the next level. negativeZero is our champion. He'd like to thank the Hero Colossi. He'd like to thank the Tempests. He'd like to thank Eris for banking on a strategy that he was very good at defending. There were many times in this series that I thought Eris had it. I am sure though that Eris will be back, adjustments will be made, and she may be on top yet again. If you guys enjoyed this series, check out that Pro Bots channel for more with the link in the description. You can always subscribe here too, I'll allow it. Eris's GG function is not kicking in this time. She has no army and just lost her last drone. It's gonna be an elimination condition. I'm not speeding it up because I just want to enjoy it. The stalkers micro like crazy every time the broodlings appear. And they have blink now, so they are just unstoppable. I think Eris actually came close to making this build work. She just needed her biles to focus down more buildings. When Protoss loses his gates and cores, it sets him back, way back. Okay, I lied. Let's speed this and get to a well-earned victory screen. To continue your StarCraft journey, Nova advises you to click the video in the upper rectangle. But Kerrigan warns you to watch your 6 and click the video in the bottom rectangle. Or you can stimpack your StarCraft experience. Subscribe to Zugzwang StarCraft. Just hit the circle. From my base to yours, Zugzwang out.